I watched every one of them. So thank you for that. Can you give everybody a sneak peek of what's next to come on your Instagram channel? What's your next series?
Yeah, so the 22 lessons, they got about 2 million views and got around 110,000 new followers that came through. So we'll be talking a little bit about branding at the event, but what's coming next is really just more on specified communication. You know, how we can build our network in the strongest way possible, how we can resolve conflicts, how we can really communicate with different levels of people, do sales with different types of people, write copy to different types of people. So a lot more geared towards the entrepreneurs, you guys who are looking to have different forms and find your form of communication that's going to be unique to you and work for you.
Absolutely. And I want to just point out there, I know Leo brushed over that. It got a couple million views, but like there's people out there selling courses on how to do this crap that are 10% of the brain you are on this. You got over 1.5 billion views with a B on TikTok. Now you're getting millions on Instagram. Like that's a science, man. That's impressive. I just
Thank you
wanted
very much.
to Yeah, I just wanted to point that out. I done that. I was recently hosting, which we're about to host another meetup, and my great friend Jordan Pone's going to be there. And it reminded me of that when you said the Instagram thing because he brushed over in his talk and he's like, yeah, we used to have a lending company, we sold it, and boom, and he went right on to what we're doing now. And I interrupted him. I said, Jordan, your old lending company done 17 billion in loans, dude. Like you have to take a minute on this. And I love that because I think that shows again the culture we've built, which there's something to be said for each of us being good at what we do and being so good that it's just impossible for someone else not to edify us. And that's, of course, in this case, Leo, what you've become. So thank you for that.
Andrew, I think
How's
before we go into, I think that's a piece of our culture and for everyone on here is that, unfortunately, we don't settle. We hit a million, we try to get to two. If we hit
Yeah,
500,000 this year, we want to hit 5 million next. And so that's where the humility comes from, where it's like, okay, hey, it's not good enough. We don't take no for an answer. We just keep going bigger and trying to. 'Cause that's the curse of an entrepreneur. And people call you weird. People call you guys weird. The people that are your age, the people that are in your family or your neighbors, they think you are weird because you have goals, you have ideas, and you have ambition. But to us, it's normal. We always want to achieve more. It's normal to us.
absolutely. That's a great point, and thank you for accenting that, Leo, because it's so important for each of us. While we do celebrate those wins, and I really hope, just as a friend and a brother, Leo, that you take a moment and reflect on the moment, the fact that you just gained 100 something thousand followers on Instagram. Like there's people pay tons of money for that, and at the same time, I love that drive that continues to each of us to be pushed to greatness. And I think for us to ever settle for anything less than our potential is doing ourselves a great disservice. Let's delve in. Who's ready to make some money? Let's get the energy up. What's your energy level in the chat? 1 out of 10. What's your energy level? I want to do something. This is straight off the cuff. And I want to do this before we get into this money making situation. I want to find out who on here has either gotten a contract or a check since you started this 60 days with us. Type it in the chat. Me, I have, or yes, or something. All right. I want to see how many people have gotten a contract or a check. I'm going to count you up. 1, 2, 3, 4 so far. Good. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Good. This is really good. So, something I want to do is point out the fact that you're showing up here and you're just by being here and making a shift have already made a change. And many of you, looks like more than a dozen of you, have gotten a contract or a check since being here. And I know that Ahmed is got a contract getting signed today. I know Derek got a contract signed yesterday or the day before. And I know many of you on here have got contracts. So I want to do this just as a reminder for the shift you've taken. Same principle Leo and I was just discussing a second ago is the same principle I want you to take away to realize if you've gotten a contract or a check, Tim Keegan says, we'll do two more contracts today. Oh, Tim, where you at, brother? I need to bring you up. I got to hear how this happened. Tim Keegan. Oops. Unmute. Can you find the unmute button, Tim, if you're in a place to talk? How you feeling, brother?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I am awesome, man. So what's changed for you in the last 35 days? What's going on, man?
Just getting focused, just putting myself out there, looking for
Yeah.
deals, hustling. Yep. Getting
Okay.
signs out. I got a wholesale acquisitionist going, finding deals. So he found two houses, we're putting them under contract today. So yeah, it's happening.
I love that. So is these three deals, any of them terms, all wholesales? What types of
Yeah.
deals?
First one is like a cash deal. I'm going to use private money, and we're going
Okay.
to turn it into a terms deal because it's going to cash flow with a great back end and something up front as well. So yeah, and the two today will be wholesale deals.
Way to go, brother. Wow. What do you anticipate on the three you're going to make as a profit combined?
Oh, the two today could be possibly about 30K between them. So
Okay.
it's not massive, but it'd be okay.
10,
The
10,
terms,
10.
yeah, terms deal. Well, the terms deal is a 50K back end.
Okay.
With probably 500 cash flow per month for 2 years.
If you could use an extra 50K, just type in the chat. Hi. Who could use an extra 50K about now? That works.
So yeah, I've really enjoyed what you're doing. It's been very motivational. Certainly got me going. So I appreciate both what you're doing, you and Leo. It's been fantastic.
Absolutely, man. That's so awesome. Well, thank you for that, sharing that. And something's interesting, Tim. I love seeing because I remember when we talked, when I posted about this, when I was looking at just doing, when I thought there was going to be five, and you and I had a phone conversation, and we was doing this right, and I'm going, you committed, and our conversation, I knew you was committed, so I knew when you showed up that there was going to be a big shift for you. And this makes me plain giddy, bro. Like so excited. So congratulations to you. It's only the beginning. This is day 35 of 60, so we're barely getting started. And are you coming to hang out with us next month?
I cannot. I had actually plans already made. So unfortunately, it's going to have to be next time. I really would love to be going, but just cannot do it this time around.
Man, we're gonna miss you, but we will begrudgingly give you one pass to miss, but we will make sure we get you a heads up on the next one.
Well, I'll certainly be there.
We do not
Awesome,
take no
Tim.
for an answer. Make it happen, Tim.
We will. We will for sure. For sure. Appreciate what you guys are doing. Okay.
Absolutely, man. Thank you for being here. So
Thank you.
I want to point something out that's very important. Get your notepads and your pens ready and write down in great big letters at the top of your page the word tenacity. I was homeschooled. Do not ask me how to spell it. But if you know how, if you don't, ask Siri and write the word tenacity. I I share that because there's something that happens for each of us when we get into this business. Um, I'm going to say something here that's not sexy and doesn't sell well, but you hear Tim get three deals, and I'll just be blunt and say most of the people on here are not going to go do three deals and make 50K in 35 days because most of the people are not going to take the action that Tim took. So, what do we have to do to get the Tim like results? Is to get Tim like actions. So, it's tenacity. Tim is getting lots of no's in order to get to some yeses. And I want to remind you that for all of you, the tenacity we have when it comes, I remember trying to get funding for my first deal. And it was no, no, no. Banks said no. Private lenders said no because I was presenting wrong. Lenders said no. I was trying business lines of credit. They said I was too young. And all of these things are happening. And I am just getting turned down in every way. But I had this one weird thing going on in my head. And that was I had no option but to succeed. I didn't have the option because my 9 to 5 wasn't working because I had health challenges and couldn't keep up. So when I got all the no's, I was like, crap, I got to do something because this is my only freaking option in the world. I'd burn all the ships. And so I want you to take on this mindset of tenacity because as you are moving forward, for those of you who have gotten deals, you can testify to this. You can all say, man, to those of you who have not yet gotten a deal, watch this, pay attention carefully to the people who have, and you're going to realize they have tapped into a piece of tenacity that is going to be required to exercise. It's going to be required to exercise for finding your deals, for closing your deals, because there's going to be liens pop up you didn't know about. There's going to be, not everything goes as planned. And I want to remind you to not get frustrated at the game, but to ask yourself, how can I play it differently? I made these calls, this didn't work, right? I have done this, or I've made this show. And I see this all the time when we do interviews for those of you who have applied to work with us in the Boss Flow Accelerator. And a couple of you even applied for the mastermind, which you ain't even talked about yet. And as we're doing these interviews, I find the mindset immediately shows through of someone who says, no, I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to get this done. And at the right place, at the right time, I know this is exactly what I need. It worked for Tim. It worked for Judy. It worked for Glenn. It worked for Elizabeth. It worked for all of these other people on here. And then someone else comes on and goes, crap. I called 38 people from Facebook Marketplace and 90% of them was wholesalers and realtors. This is not my business. It doesn't work in my area. That's the mindset of failure. So whether you believe it works or doesn't, you're right, because we create our own reality. So I think it's very important to gain that tenacity. Now, I opened up with that for a very specific reason. Write this down. Exit strategies. Exit strategies. I'm going to talk to you about exit strategies. So, number one, exit strategies is, write this down, lease option. Number two, write down CFD, meaning contract for deed. Some states it's called bond for deed. I'm not an attorney and don't claim to be, so ask your local attorney what it's called. Or three, the third exit strategy, lease option, contract for deed. And the third exit strategy is a straight cash out. Now, there's subcategories under each of these. Our favorite is typically the lease option strategy. Now, here's something that's very important, and I want to point this out. But some of you guys on here are very good at DISPO. You're going to hear me refer to DISPO for anybody who doesn't know what I mean by that. It means getting a hold of people who want to buy the house. So whether that be lease option buyers, some people specialize in wholesale buyers, meaning they have a whole list or a CRM like Investor Lift or what is it, Deals Off Market or whatever, all these different resources. And they will find, for example, Leo has a house that he contracted at $50,000. It's worth $150,000, and they'll say, "Leo, I'll dispo that for you." And they'll go put it out and find a buyer for 70 or 80K, and then they'll pay Leo the 50 that he contracted it, and they'll split the profits or do some sort of profit sharing, depending on what roles are played. Right? So I want to talk. And I'm going to give kind of the high-level overview today, and we're going to be delving a lot deeper into these in these remaining 25 days together. And it's very important that we get where we can think of these exit strategies in a good way, because how we exit the property is going to be determined how much money we make. Lease option is typically going to be my favorite because we're going to net the most money over time. But I want you to have a tool belt full of big, beautiful tools, exit strategies, so that when you get a deal that isn't maybe in a lease option box to resell it, that you can do something else with it, right? Some of you go, I just need a quick check. In fact, some of you may do like Amanda did and say, hey, I need to go find me some money. You may go find somebody on the Zoom or somebody in the mastermind who has houses that they need disposed and say, hey, look, I'll dispose these for you, right? And so there is so many places to plug in here. So I'm going to, today, for the next 10 minutes, I'm going to overview the lease option disposition plan. We're going to be talking more about wholesale dispo in the future. We're going to be talking about work for equity and what that means, the contract for deed and when that's appropriate. We're going to be talking about a whole bunch more of these details. But right now, because Bob's slow, everybody type it in the chat, Bob's slow, lest we forget. Bob's slow, I'm going to talk about selling on lease option. All right. So selling lease option, it's really simple. We're looking for people who have money and can't yet qualify for a loan. Plain and simple. Now, what's that mean? It means we got to have tenacity, because when you put out a home and you say lease option or rent to own your own beautiful home, you are going to be getting hundreds, if you market it right, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people going, I would love to rent to own a home. The challenge is 90% of them or more are not going to have enough money saved up to put as a, write it down, NROD, non-refundable option deposit, to get into the home. So, number one, we need to market it. We're going to be talking more about that in coming days as well. We need to market it to get the phone ringing. Once the phone is ringing and people are calling us, now somebody has to get on the phone with these people and ask them a series of questions. Here's the two big questions. Number one, what do you have saved up to put down toward your new home? And number two, what's your budget as far as a monthly payment? Those are the two key factors, right? So we have to find out if they have money saved up, and we have to find out if they can afford the monthly payment on the property. Those are two key factors, because 90% of the conversations are going to end right there. 90% of the time, you're going to have a $300,000 home on the market, and 90% of the calls have less than $2,000 to put down on the new home. So we have to find out what's the most they can put down. We're looking for somebody who can put down $20, $30, $40, $50, $60,000 non-refundable option deposit toward the purchase price of the home. Why? Number one, I want you to be get a payday up front. And number two, I want quality people. And somebody who hands you a $30,000 or $40,000 non-refundable option deposit check the day they move in is going to be a whole different quality of person than the person who moves in with a tenant mindset and puts down $1,000 or $2,000 the day they move in. All right. So very important that we learn this tenacity, because I've had people call me and say, hey, I put up a rent to own ad and I've gotten 400 calls and 360 of them were flat broke. What am I doing wrong? And I said, nothing. It's just a numbers game. It's the same thing with calling people and asking for terms, right? So it's just a numbers game. So the tenacity that we're learning at this stage in the game, in order to, whatever it may be, instead of getting frustrated, the old me, when something go wrong, would get so frustrated. Ah, crap, why can't this go right? Ah, crap, why didn't that funding go through like I wanted it to? Ah, crap, why didn't this work out like I thought it should? Or this appointment come together like I needed it to? Why didn't this happen? And so I would get so frustrated in that moment. Now, instead, I immediately step back and go, okay, how do I readjust and ensure I accomplish the objective? How do I close this deal? How do I get it done? How do I gather the funding? How do I, whatever it is that I'm working toward? And instead of getting frustrated, look at it as a learning moment. So when I go to the gym and I am lifted. Something Leo told me, some of you have heard me tell this. He kicked my butt, got me in the gym. I get to working out. I lose 45 pounds. And he goes, all right, now you need to start, lifting some weights. You've dropped the weight. You got to start lifting the weights and get some muscle. And so we go to the gym and he goes, the first thing you got to know about lifting is never ego lift. All right. Never ego lift. And so I'm like, okay, never ego lift. Cool. So I go get my little 15-pound dumbbells and I start lifting. And I'm proud of myself. I'm not ego lifting. Leo leaves. He flies home back to California. Next morning, I get up. I go to the gym. Never ego lift. I go over. I got my little 15-pound dumbbells. I sit down on the bench. And I look over to my left. And there's this real little skinny lady sitting there with two 25-pound dumbbells just lifting. I'm like, don't ego lift. Don't ego lift. Don't ego lift. So I have my 15-pound. She has her 25-pound. And I had to, in that moment, use discipline to continue forward with what I knew I needed to do. And it was a learning moment to say, okay, I don't need to get flustered because I'm not where I want to be, right? I need to be consistent with where I know I need to be. So ensure you're taking the right actions. Someone else has to make 100 calls in order to sell a house. I just need to make these calls. So we have to find where we are, the point of impact is that we're missing. How do we find, write this down, target rich environments? In other words, where do we find people who have sizable chunks of money and can't yet qualify for a mortgage? And they want a nice home. These are the people who we're looking for that we can help be able to get into a new home that they can eventually own. All right. What's the most you have to put down toward your new home? And what's the monthly budget you're looking to be at? That's the two main questions. As soon as we get through that, now we can start getting to showings. Now we can start getting to getting the money in the door. But we have to start on every single lease option call with those two things. Because if we don't know those two things, we have nothing to work off of. Now, I drive this point home because some of you are going to wind up doing dispo for other people and joint venturing. Some of you are going to get your own houses or already have them and are going to end up lease optioning that. And you're going to immediately have the opportunity to get annoyed, overloaded, or frustrated at the fact that you're getting all these calls that can be time wasters. Now, I'm going to talk to you about what phone systems to use to pre-screen those out. So you talk to the minority and 99% of that is done for you, that pre-screening. Ahmed has built a beautiful CRM who does all of that pre-screening for us now. So we only talk to a handful of the people who do have money. But in the beginning, if you don't have that set up and you do all the calls yourself like I did, then that is something you need to be mentally prepared for. So there is really simple 3 steps to getting lease option buyers. Number 1, put out the word. Write it down. Put out the word. We're going to put it out on Craigslist. We're going to put it out on Facebook Marketplace. We're going to put it out on Facebook groups. We're going to put it out in yard signs. We're going to put pointer signs from every main road leading into the house. We just want the phone to ring. Part 2, we're going to pre-screen them. So something or someone has to take these calls, ask them, what can you put down in your new home? And what can you afford as a monthly payment? And then thirdly, it is, once they've seen the home and loved it, getting the deposit. That's the step. Sounds very much like buying a house, don't it? Get to the conclusion. That's our whole objective on every single one of these calls. Asking questions to get to the appropriate conclusion. Asking questions to get to a contract to buy a house. Asking questions to get to a deposit to sell a house. That's where we're going to get to every single time. I have a lot more to cover on that. But Leo, what's on your mind right now, brother? I want to make sure I don't leave anything out I shouldn't.
A lot of things are on my mind. We're 35 days in. Everyone, I want you to realize that as we're teaching, we teach in so many different ways. We go in depth on a lot of things. We also go generalized because everyone has different challenges right now. So there has to come a point where you take that full responsibility and write down, what is your strategy going to be? What market are you in? And you just use our daily really daily motivation, daily teaching, daily strategies, and you pick the pieces that you enjoy. And thankfully, Andrew sits with us every single day to give his 10 years worth of experience for 30 minutes a day. And it's wonderful. And a lot of the Boston students, they get hours and hours of that, but then they have actual deal support where he picks up the phone. And the strategy that you guys are all taking place is number one, how are you going to get leads? Right? How are you going to get leads? What is your strategy going to be? And then your skill set on the phones, your skill set on the phones. So understand every single time, this is so important. This is how we learn. We learn in so many different ways. Some people are audio learners, some people are, kinesthetic learners. Some people need to feel and do these type of things and need to do and understand where are we on the learning curve, right? We're going over lead generation and calls, which is the front end, which is something you always got to get good at. And every business has the front end, is the leads and the sales, the leads and the sales, marketing and sales. Those two things you get better at every single day, and it takes repetition. And then it's the other side of, okay, when the seller says yes, when the seller says no, then what do we do? Which is a whole world. But some of you don't need to worry about this stuff yet. Right here, we're speaking to people who have gotten to the point where they can have sellers say yes or no. But some people haven't even picked up the phone to even get close to a yes or no. They're still on day one, which is okay. What I'm saying though is let's get out of day one. Let's start making some phone calls, because you're going to get to a point where the seller says yes or no. And when you're at that very nervous point of like, oh crap, what do I do? That is where you'll learn the fastest. And you'll be like, oh, okay, I remember Andrew said this on day 22, or I remember Andrew said this on day 35. Now I know what to do. But we start to realize where the hustle comes in is the sales and marketing, the sales and marketing. That's something that every day, 30 minutes a day, you get good at. And then you guys are coming in here 30 minutes to learn the actual business. So you gain the confidence for your internal mind to say, I know what I'm doing. I know what I have great education. And the Boslo students, it's basically, hey, we're going to train you on the sales, on the marketing. And if a seller says yes or no, we got you. We will take care of you. And we're going to show you how to do it so you can see it. And then you can do it. You can have that self-reliance that you can do it every step of the way, so that when you come back onto these Zoom meetings, it's simply just a collaboration. You're simply just getting different ideas, getting different sparks of inspiration. So I hope that makes sense for you guys. And I know I saw a lot of nodding heads. So you got that message, and it will really help you identify, where am I learning right now?
I want to remind each of you, and Paul, if we could, let's get the circle link in the chat. I want to make sure all of you have access to the circle. For any of you who haven't yet, for anybody who's newer on here, haven't yet joined in, make sure you're there. And then also, I'm going to give you something here, because I know we have several people who just joined in the last week. And I just put a link in the chat. Go watch. I made a series of 5-minute brief videos of finding deals, buying houses, what to say to sellers, and even a live seller call. And so hop in there, subscribe, and enjoy watching that. It's going to catch you up to speed on anything you feel like you've missed. And ensure you do that before tomorrow. I want to get to questions and answers. We have so much more to cover on what to say to buyers, how to get the money. We're going to be covering more sellers, more of your deals that have still been in the works that haven't yet gone to contract. I don't know if Veronica's on here. I think we was working a deal. I don't remember. I think there's 4 or 5. We got a overabundance, which is good trouble, of deals that we've been working. And so we're going to be covering a lot more of this in coming days. But I know we're almost out of time. So let's get to some questions and answers. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube and sign up for your Circle account. Those 2 things are going to be huge. For those of you who gave us the 5-star reviews and got your gifts, I want to be seeing these gifts on here. Oh, you already got yours. Emily, hold it up close to the camera so we can see it. Heck yeah. So for those of you who didn't get it, you just blew the surprise. But that is so cool.
Hey, that's it. Wait, let me see that one more time.
Isn't that fun?
If not now, wow. Look at that.
So,
Michelle just makes things happen. We sell, hey, Michelle, we want to give people this. And I don't know. That was,
yeah, give Michelle a hand. It's just amazing.
Thank you, Michelle.
So for all those of you who gave us a Trustpilot review on Truca, then thank you for that. For all of you who send us your name, email, and phone number in the email, we sent you a gift. If you don't get a gift, it's because we didn't get your name, phone number, and email in the email. So make sure you enjoy those gifts, drink lots of healthy beverages out of those gifts, and let's get questions and answers, Paul.
All right. First question today comes from Tim McAlvey, and he says, what is the smallest percentage of purchase price you have ever accepted as a lease option deposit? And why did you accept that low percentage in that case?
Yes, that is a horrible question. It's not a horrible question. Here's why I say it's a horrible question, because I have done something I would never again do. I accepted a $1,000 non-refundable option deposit on a really crappy house one time from a very low quality individual who never made their first payment after move-in. So that's the answer. I will say it's very important that the people, A, have a sizable non-refundable option deposit, and it's very important that they're a quality person. Just for general overview, without getting into all the nitty gritty, I love people who have a habit of paying their bills on their house. So in other words, rent, if they've rented, or mortgage, if they used to own a house. If they have a habit of paying for where they live, and then you see a challenge in their pay history on a credit card, or a medical challenge, or a car situation, or lost a job, that's a good indicator that they're going to be a quality person to work with. So very general there, but make sure you get as large of NROD as possible.
All right. Next question comes from Steph, and he says, what are some good lead sources, free and paid?
Awesome question. So make sure you're in the circle. We keep posting a lot of cool assets in the circle for you. Facebook Marketplace is a free lead source you're going to hear us use a lot and talk a lot about. You're going to see even videos about that on the YouTube channel. We use Zillow, still kind of crappy, but it works. Some cities you can use bandit signs. You can post on Craigslist. Those are all free things. The inbound paid ads is pay per click marketing, pay per lead marketing, and mailings. Those three are working great for us right now. You can find pre-foreclosures, inherited property, likely delinquent, and divorced property. What else we got?
All right, next question comes from Justin. He says, with a 10% NROD, is equitable interest in the home ever an issue when a buyer ultimately does not qualify when it is time to buy?
I'm not an attorney and don't claim to be. Everything I'm about to say is probably a lie. So when it comes time to put a buyer into a home, our objective is to set them up for success. Now, does death happen, divorce happen, all sorts of crap come up? Absolutely. So we set them up for success. We accept their non-refundable deposit. Every penny goes toward the purchase price when they buy the home. Now, is there instances where they move out and have to get evicted or something changes? Absolutely. But those we work to avoid. We've never had a challenge with it, but of course, we treat everybody like we want to be treated, and we run business in the right way. So is there opportunity for things to go sideways? Absolutely. No risk, no goodies.
All right. Looks like the last question we have today is from James W. He says, typically how much for non-refundable? What percentage?
So the more they put as a non-refundable deposit, the more flexible you can be on rent. I asked, what do you have to put down on your home? And again, it's going to depend on the condition of the house. If you got a home that's pristine, move-in ready, a lot of times we get 15 or 20%. If you're going to get a house that maybe needs some work or is dated, 5 or 10% might be acceptable. So that's going to be a business decision that's 100% personalized and up to you.
All right, cool. Actually, we have another one from Tim McAlvey. He says, what is the highest percentage of purchase price you can remember getting as a lease option deposit, and how did that happen?
It happened because we asked, what can you put toward your new home? And they gave over 50% non-refundable option deposit up front, and 13 months later, paid us off in full.
Awesome. Well, it looks like that's all the questions we have for today. So thank you, guys. Awesome questions.
Thanks, guys. We'll be back tomorrow. Same place, same time. Another jam-packed day. I'm telling you guys, we're going to be hearing more feedback from you too. So make sure you show up with your cameras on, be ready to ask questions, because we're going to get a gauge on where you are to make sure we're speaking specifically to your needs as we continue 60 days to deals. Stay awesome. Bye for now, guys.
Bye, guys.